Alright, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. We're trying to go give this another go around here because we had some technical difficulties. I don't know what was going on, but so we're gonna. But Hasatan, I believe, is trying to keep this from getting out. So we're gonna try to make this move along. All right. As I was covering, as I was saying before, I got cut off. Before I don't know what happened. The stream got cut off. Fire in the Wilderness was the ministry the Most High had placed upon my heart. And a lot of what we stand on, and I know I've said this many times, but we have two foundation verses. One verse being Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. I'll read it again. For I am Yahuwah, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end. So we know the Most High does not change. So everything that comes through, I guess to say, those who I teach, and anything that comes through the ministry, I look at first and foremost through the lens that Yahuwah does not change. Yahuwah has always been the same. His system, the way he does things, the way he has set things up, his order, it does not change. So when I look at anything, if it seems off from what Yahuwah had already ordained, it makes me question it more. That's one reason why that is one of the foundation verses. The second verse, in which is why I'm going live today, I'm going to try to not make this very long, not really make this as necessarily a teaching, but I really want to talk to Yasharal. This is what this is about, is talking to Yasharal. But the second foundational verse, we're going into Exodus chapter 19. Exodus chapter 19. And in I'm going to start in verse 5. And now, if you diligently obey my voice. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 3, sorry. And Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahuwah called to him from the mountain, saying, this is what you are to say to the house of Jacob, and declare to the children of Yasharal. So this is all 12 tribes, the entire house of Yasharal. The entire nation is being spoke to at this moment. This is what Moshe is to tell them. He is to say, you have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. Verse 6, and you shall be to me a reign of priests, Kohen, priests. That's the title of this, the meaning of a priest. This is where we're going with this. So circle that, highlight it. Priest, that's the key word today. And you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Yasharal. Now, the reason that verse is another foundational verse for fire in the wilderness is, to simply put it, it's what Yahuwah wanted. That's what Yasharal was supposed to be. Yasharal was to be the kingdom of priests. Well, we got to understand what that word priest means. So we are going to go into the Strongs here, and we are going to look at that word priest. We are so we're going to go to Exodus. I got to get the Strong's number. I had it But let's see here. Exodus 10 and 6. So that word H3548. H3548. Kohen is that word in Hebrew. I'm trying to get there. 3548. 3548. It says, Kohen. Hebrews 3548. And it says, for the definition, or it says, act or part of, it's part of H3547. We'll go look at that here in a second. But it says one officiating. So officiating, a priest, an acting priest, a priest, a owner, a chief, ruler, an officer, prince. So this is part of 3547. We're just going to go there real quick. We're just trying to get the definition of this word kohen, or priest. So then to get it's the same word kohen, and it says a primitive root to mediate, or in the religious observances. And it's from 35. It means to officiate as a priest. So again, we're getting that same definition. It is a mediator. They officiate. They are a ruler. These are the definitions of what it means to be a priest. Now, this is where things, this is where I'm going to probably step on some toes here. Because, first off, Yasharal, our whole purpose were to be a kingdom of priests, a kingdom of officials, a kingdom of rulers, a kingdom of princesses, etc. So, I pose this question because I'm going to pose this question because we are a kingdom of priests. Does that mean that he did not have other priests? Say on that for a minute. Did Yahuwah have other priests, meaning not just of Yasharal? See, this is where we got to start looking at things spiritually and not so much physically. Because Yasharal, our nation, was supposed to be a nation of priests. We were supposed to be a nation of rulers. Who are we supposed to rule over? Who is we supposed to mediate for? If the entire nation, we read this in Exodus 19, that Yahuwah's plan was for the entire nation to be priests. And with that, I know this is going to be another, it'll have to turn into a topic all in itself. But can we say, was Aaron the high priest? Or was Moshe truly the high priest? I'm posing a lot of questions out here today because we have to understand who we are, Yasharal. We can't be going off of religion or what we have been taught or what we perceive to be right or anything like that. Because everything that we have been given, first off, we've been given this book that has been translated not written in its original tongue. We were given it to us by Romans, and it's gone through hands through different people. It has not been all Hebrew. We have to be honest how we got it today. We even have to admit in verses, there's certain passages in Scripture talking about the lion pen of the scribes. So we have to really, really search, really look up, really understand what Yahuwah truly wanted. Because people have, we see through Scripture, people have corrupted themselves, people have corrupted writings. Even Scripture talks about the priesthood being corrupted. And I think what we're seeing today is a result of all that corruption. We have Yasharal waking up to who they are and knowing who they are, but not truly knowing who they are. Not truly knowing and grasping who we are. I see a lot more to say, Frank, to try to put it in any other way, that I'm seeing it be more turning into more of a black power movement in certain areas. And is that what we want, or is that what Yahuwah had designed? See, this is where I'm trying to get to. This is what I'm trying to see. And Yahuwah revealed this to me when I was studying this word out and studying things out, is that we are the seed of Jacob. We went down to Mitzrayim, 70 beings. But we wouldn't be a nation without Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the reason we are a nation. We were a nation. We were called out, became a nation, because Yahuwah had chosen us to do His work, to be a light. That's what Mashiach said. We were to be a light to the nations. We were to be a light to let people know Yahuwah, know the truth. A priest, we're just going to go in there. I'm going to cover something. We're going to go to Exodus 3. And I know we're coming up close. I know some have already celebrated Passover. I know as far as the calendar, my house goes by, Pesach will be coming up soon. But back on the priest, because this is what we gotta understand a priest. And according to Yahuwah, this is what this is about, according to Yahuwah. So we're going to go in Exodus in chapter 3. Exodus chapter 3. And Moshe was shepherding the flock of Yithro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. Make sure we know that. He was the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. I skipped over where I wanted to go, actually. I wanted to actually go into 2. I did want to go there, but I wanted to show where we see where Yithro was. He was not too far. He was not too far from the mountain of Elohim, according to Exodus chapter 3. Because Moshe was shepherding his flock in the wilderness. We see that. And he was in the back of the wilderness. But I want to jump over. let's see here. Jumping over to Exodus chapter 2 and then verse 16 real quick. It says, and the priest of Midian, we already know as Yithro, had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled their troughs to water their flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel their father, and he said, how is it that you have come so soon? And they said, a Mitzrite rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. And he said to his daughters, and where is he? Why did you leave the man? See, keep going. Call him and let him eat bread. Loving your neighbor as you love yourself. You go, bring him here. Let him, And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man after he came. Obviously, talked and Zipporah and gave Zipporah his daughter to Moshe. So Moshe went and he dwelt with Yithro from the time he left Mitzrayim. He dwelt with Yithro until we see Yahuwah sending him back to Mitzrayim to redeem. Again, he's being sent to mediate. We see this throughout Moshe's role. Moshe was the one. Let's go. I'm gonna go here. Moshe, we see he was the one who led them. We see he was the one who did the signs and wonders, led the people out of Mitzrayim. When we look at it, we see he's the one that goes up the mountain. We see Moshe is the one who writes down the words of the covenant. He's the one who sprinkles the people with the blood. He's the one who sprinkles the book. He's the mediator of the covenant. Even in cases, we're going to go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus, here we are. And Exodus 32. And we are going to read this is after the golden calf incident. So we're in Exodus 32. We are showing Moshe here. Aaron and the people made the golden calf. Moshe is coming down with the commandments. And we are going to read. We're going to go start in verse 7. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, go. So we're in Exodus 32, chapter, and verse 7. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, go, get down, for your people whom you brought out the land of Mitzrayim have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf, and have bowed themselves to it, and slaughtered to it, and said, this is your mighty one, O Yasharal, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, I have seen this people, and see, it is a stiff-necked people. Now let me alone, and that my wrath might burn against them, and I consume them, and I make of you a great nation. So Yahuwah was ready to destroy Yasharal. That was Aaron, all the Levites, all the Danites, all the Zebulonites, everyone, all 12 tribes. He was ready to destroy. But verse 11. This is where I'm seeing. This is Moshe. This is what I'm saying about mediating. being the mediator between the Most High and the people, being a ruler. He says in verse 11, but Moshe pleaded with Yahuwah, his Elohim, and said, Yahuwah, why does your wrath burn against your people, whom you have brought off the land of Mitzrayim with great power and with a strong hand? Why should the Mitzrites speak and say, for evil he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from the heat of your wrath and relent from this evil to your people. Remember Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yasharal, your servants, to whom you swore by yourself and said to them, I increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. What was Moshe doing right there? Moshe was interceding for the people. He was, in a sense, atoning for their sin. He was being the covering. They just got done needing a covering. Exodus 12. Because Yahuwah was striking the Mitzrites, Egyptians, with killing their firstborn. They had to put the blood, or else they would have been touched as well. Moshe is putting himself, he does that again over and over. He puts himself in between the Most High and the people to atone for them. It's not Aaron. We see what we saying. It was not Aaron. Aaron, in fact, helped with this idol worship. Aaron needed to be atoned for as well because of what he did. So we see it Moshe. We see it in I believe Matthew. Mashiach, he says about the scribes and the Pharisees, they sit in the seat of Moshe. The Torah was prescribed to Moshe. It was never prescribed to Aaron. Aaron had never been prescribed to Aaron never got prescribed to that status. Yahushua was always Moshe. We see even everything was tied to Moshe being a high priest, being a priest, being the one mediating, being the one that he looked at. When you look and see scripturally, Moshe, like I said, he put the blood on the altar. He was the one who was doing all the priestly things. He was bringing forth all the priestly moves. He was the one teaching people the laws and the commandments. He was the one who brought them down. I want to jump over to Matthew real quick. Matthew 26. And it's covering the Pesach. I'm just going to read one part. We're in Matthew chapter 26, and I'm going to start in verse 26. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread, and having blessed, broke, and gave it to the taught ones, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many, for the forgiveness of sins. His blood. This was done around the time of Pesach, around the time of Passover. Passover is the blood symbolizing covering. This is for the forgiveness of sins. All the mistakes. Mashiach is bringing forth the blood of the covenant. Moshe brought forth the blood of the covenant. He is mediating this covenant. Just like Moshe mediated that covenant. What did Yahushua do while he was here? What did he teach his taught ones? He taught his taught ones to walk in the ways of the Most High. He taught his taught ones to teach others to walk in the ways of the Most High. He appointed them, which made them rulers, to officiate, to go out on his behalf, to mediate. Are we seeing what a priest is supposed to do? A priest is supposed to be able to teach those who want to learn of the Most High. And this is not, it's not based on skin color or ethnicity or anything. Because Abraham, let's go there. And go to Abraham's story. Go to Genesis. All steam to Yahuwah. We're going to go to Genesis. And in chapter, let's see here. I think it's 18. I think I want to go to 18. Yep. So we're in Genesis 18. Genesis chapter 18. And in verse 17. And Yahuwah said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings Abraham what he has spoken to him. Yahuwah said in verse 19, he knows Abraham. Abraham is going to command his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abraham what has spoken to him. Abraham is going to teach his children and his household the commands of Yahuwah. Wait, I thought they weren't given because Mount Sinai haven't happened yet. I thought there wasn't no written law. But that's what they want people to think. I'm one that looks into other books, and I will be bringing one of them out here soon, because I'm coming close to what I want to wrap up with here. But I wanted to bring Abraham to show that he officiated, that he taught the commands. Yahuwah knew he was going to teach his children his ways. But there was no Israel yet. There was no Yasharal yet. There was no nation yet. How can there be someone teaching the laws? We got Shem. We got Enoch. These men were not Israelites, but were they priests? We read what a priest means. And I want to touch on another person, or go back to, I should say, Jethro, the father-in-law of Moshe. We're going to go to Exodus 18. Exodus chapter 18, and we're starting at the top. And Jethro, the priest of Midian, again specifying who he was. He was a priest of Midian. He was the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard of all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Yasharal, his people, that Yahuwah had brought Yasharal out of Mitzrayim, and Jethro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land, and the name of the other was Eleazar, for he said, the Elohim of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Verse 5, Yithro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moshe in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of Elohim. So he wasn't too far. Remember, they're in the back of the wilderness, where he had encamped at the mountain of Elohim. Exodus 3, we know that's around where Moshe was. And he had said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law, Yithro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. And they asked each other about their welfare, and they went into the tent. And Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahuwah had done to Pharaoh and to the Mitzrites for Yasharal's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how Yahuwah had delivered them. And Yithro rejoiced for all the good which Yahuwah had done for Yasharal, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Yithro said, Blessed be Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Mitzrites. Now I know that Yahuwah is greater than all the mighty ones, indeed, in the matter in which they acted proudly above them. That's something right there I'm just going to leave as a little cliffhanger, above them. Reread that when you get a chance, and allow the Ruach to guide you there. Continue in verse 12. Then Yithro, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought an ascending offering and other slaughterings unto Elohim. And alright, and I'm going to skip over. I'm going to jump down to jump down to 13. And it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to rightly rule the people, and the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening. And when the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, he said, What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself, and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? Okay, so he's asking him, why is he doing all this? So Moshe goes through and tells him what's going on. And I'm going to jump down to 19. 18. And the father-in-law of Moshe said to him, What you are doing is not good. Both you and these people with you shall certainly wear yourselves out, for the matter is too heavy for you. Bear with me, I'm reading all this for context. I want to get all the context on this so we see this. You are not able to do it by yourself. Now listen to my voice. So Yithro is about to instruct Moshe. Let me counsel you, and Elohim be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring the matters to Elohim. And you shall enlighten them, officiate the laws and instructions, or Torah, and show them the way in which they should walk and the work which they should do. Sounds like a strong ruler, an officiator, a mediator, a priest. But you yourself seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they shall rightly rule the people at all times. And it shall be that they bring every matter to you, but they themselves rightly rule every small matter. So make it lighter for yourself, for they shall bear with you. If you do this word, and Elohim shall command you. So he said, don't just go off of what I'm telling you. Make sure Yahuwah commands you to do this. If you do this word and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand, and all this people shall go to their place in peace. And Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all Yasharal and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they rightly ruled every small matter themselves. And Moshe sent off his father-in-law, and he went away to his own land. I'm just going to jump into chapter 19 real quick and read just a couple verses in there. In the third new moon, or new month after the children of Yasharal had come out the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. So I wanted to read that because the instruction Yithro gave Moshe, did Elohim, did Yahuwah nullify it? Did he say no? Because Midian's a priest. Yethro is the priest of Midian. And if he's the priest of Midian, so we know he is a priest of an area, Midian. Now, giving counsel and instruction to Moshe, would that mean that Yahuwah would allow Moshe to listen to a pagan priest? Or is this Yithro, this priest of Midian, a priest of Elohim, a priest of Yahuwah? We're going to go somewhere. I'm going right now to the book of Aki. Book of Remembrance, the first, second book of Aki. We're going there. I'm not concerned about whether you agree, whether you don't agree with the book. That's neither here nor there to me. Right now, we are going to hear for some reference. I am one that believes that there is some things written that were correct, and we got to look at things and really allow the rock to guide us. But we're gonna come here. I'm in the book of Aki. I know it's the first Aki, chapter 4. And I'm going to start in the 21st verse. And it came to pass that Moses had traveled for the space of many days, and his provisions were used up, and he sought after the oasis of Midian. And he, being not familiar with the land, knew not whether to find water. And he fell to the earth and said, Now I die. And he slept. And when he awoke, a maiden was bending over him, rubbing his face with water. And his eyes were filled with sand. And he tried to look and said, Are you an angel of the Lord? And she, speaking in the language of those in the land of Midian, did not know of what he spoke. And she gave him to drink and helped him into the shade. And as he was resting himself, a band of men came and were rude unto the maiden and her sisters, and would have scattered their flocks. But Moshe stood in their defense, and the men withdrew. And it came to pass, and we did just read that in the script. We read a very similar story. And it came to pass that when they arrived home, their father said, "How is it that you are returning so soon?" And they replied that a man from the country of the big river, that's how they would have said that, Mitzrayim, it makes sense, Nile River, helped them, and he was without resting himself. And their father was named Jethro, and he was a priest of Elohim. Right here is saying he was a priest of Elohim. Why? It goes into explanation. Here's a little bit of the backstory of Jethro. For his people had sprang from the descendants of those who dwelt with Shem, and descended from Midian, the son of Abraham. And his fathers had been driven out from Mabunach by a band of strangers, where they had dwelt with the people of Shem for a long time, and thus they remained for their generations in the oasis of Midian. And Jethro had knowledge of the heavenly tablets. Heavenly tablets. And the works of righteousness of Shem and Abraham. So he knew about Abraham. He knew about Shem. He had knowledge of the heavenly tablets. This was, you'll see like in the book of remembrance, you'll see it being referred to as the law of virtue, and where these heavenly tablets had the law of virtue written on them. That law of virtue would have been Torah. So the thought that there was no instruction before Mount Sinai, we see with other resources and other texts that there was the heavenly tablets that had like the law of virtue, i.e. what we would call Torah, on them. These are the things before Sinai. These are the things that the Most High, I believe, Enoch had. Enoch had. Shem had. Noah had. They had communion with the Most High. So Jethro knew this. And in verse 23 of this book of Aki, and it came to pass that Moshe dwelt with Jethro, for he was greatly desirous to know of the Elohim of his fathers. See, we have someone who is not an Israelite teaching. Moshe was an Israelite from the tribe of Levi, teaching someone from the tribe of Yasharal. Wait, wouldn't that be considered a Gentile teaching an Israelite? That's what they'd say. But we ain't supposed to have no one that's non-Israelite aren't supposed to be a priest. But yet we see in Exodus Moshe staying with Jethro until the appointed time. We're reading right here in Aki where Jethro had knowledge of the heavenly things before Moshe did. And Moshe had to be brought up. We're reading right here. I'm going to read it again. It came to pass that Moshe dwelt with Jethro, for he was greatly desirous to know the Elohim of his fathers. And Jethro taught him, for he spoke the language of Moses, and he rehearsed to him from his memory all that had been handed down to him. For no man knew what had become of the heavenly tablets since Shem. Wait a minute. So no one knows what happens to the heavenly tablets since Shem. Shem had these writings that Enoch had, from what we're seeing. So if Shem had these writings, and we know Jethro had knowledge of the heavenly tablets and the works of Shem and Abraham, so from what he knew, he was able to bring up Moshe and teach him until Yahuwah brought forth the appointed time, until the appointed time for Moshe to become priest and then mediate for the nation for Yahuwah's plan. So this is where we see Moshe. Hold on, I'm gonna keep reading. For no man knew what had become of the heavenly tablets of Shem, and Moses loved Jethro, and by him he came to the knowledge of the messengers, of the set apart ones, and he praised the name of Yahuwah for his home that he had sought after in the land of his birth, but could not find, and Jethro rehearsed unto him all the works of righteousness of the high priest of the set apart order, starting with our father Adam. And Aki saw that Moshe was filled with the set apart spirit, and Moshe kissed the feet of Jethro and called him father, and he exclaimed, I would that I may dwell among this people for the rest of my days. And Jethro loved Moses. And then we go into the story of Moshe going and shepherding. But we're seeing Moshe had to be brought up by somebody outside of Yasharah. We see there was no Yasharah prior to that. We see that there was evidence of righteousness, of righteous documentation via Abraham, what we read in Genesis, and then what we also read in the book of Aki. I am Psalms. That's where I want to go, because I know some that may watch this and hear this and they're like, what did you just say that some Gentiles could teach Israel? Is that what you just said, Reggie Kodesh? And I'm going to say, if Yahuwah put it in someone, who are you to say they can't? Especially if you know. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they know truth. A lot of us, let's be real, we didn't learn about Hebrew characters from other Hebrews, from quote-unquote Israelites. I can tell you I learned a lot from this guy Jeff Benner. He was not a Israelite, quote-unquote, but I learned about Aleph Tav, Aleph Bet, Gimel, Laman. I learned their meanings of these Abrit letters. You know, so we can't get too high-minded. And that's what this is about. We've been, I feel like Yasharal, we sometimes get a little too big-headed in the fact that we're Yasharal. And we don't realize the greater calling of being Yasharal. Yasharal is a very important, a very big role. It's a very big thing, and it was something Yahuwah established. No other nation, no other being, nothing but Yahuwah established us as being a nation, because without him we wouldn't have been. Read Ezekiel 16 if you don't believe me. I don't know if I'll get to that. I might, if Yahuwah wills. But I want to read one thing right quick, because I know some people, like I said earlier, would hear this message and hear this chop up and be like, "What you just said? Other nations could teach Israel and be a priest over Israel. You talking out of line. You need to go read script." And I'm about to go to one of the scripts I know that they would go in in Psalms 147. 7 and verse 19, declaring his word to Yaakov, his laws and his right ruling to Yasharal. He has not done so with any nation, and they have not known his right rulings. Praise Yah. See, they're like right there. He said it right there. He has not done so with any nation. You're right. A nation, a collection, a body of people who are supposed to be Echad, one. No, he has not done that with any other nation. No other nation has known his right ruling, because no other nation was built on the foundation of Yahuwah's right ruling. But clearly, from what we've read an example, Abraham, a Chaldean, he built his house on the instructions of Yahuwah. He knew right rulings. We just read that. Yahuwah had said that. We know Enoch, before, pre-flood, he established his house in the ways of Yahuwah. He wrote down books when you go into those scriptures. We just read an account about Yithro officiating, teaching the ways of the Most High, and even counseling Moshe in helping of establishing of Yasharah. Exodus 18. So we can say for a fact that yes, as a nation, for a nation standpoint, there's only been one set apart nation, one nation of priests. That's what Yahuwah wanted. A nation of priests. To be a light, to show the world how to walk and be pleasing to Yahuwah. That was Yasharah. That was Exodus 19. Yahuwah said, you are to be a kingdom of priests. You have seen what I did to the Mitzrites. You have seen my power. You have seen that the mighty ones that they worshipped were not mighty ones. Now you need to declare to the world who I am. And you need to teach the world how to walk and be pleasing. Because the world didn't know. You had Jethro. You had Abraham. Maybe a couple here and there that we don't know about. We don't know. We're too high-minded to think that. You'd be too high-minded in thinking that Yahuwah did not work with other people throughout the course of history. He's always said, from the beginning, he's left a remnant. Yasharal was how Yahuwah was going to explain to the world who he was. Yahuwah was using Yasharal for his esteem. Yasharal was going to receive all the benefits of being priests, of mediating to the world so that they can know who Yahuwah was. That was our job, Yasharal. That is our job, Yasharal. To be a set-apart nation. A kingdom of priests. Chohen. Rulers. Mediators. Officials. This is what a priest is. A priest is more than a king because a king only rules. More than a judge because a judge only is official. But we also mediate. showing people how to connect to the one true power, the one true living Allah. That is the job of Yasharal. And honestly, Yasharal, we have to remember that and think about that and really meditate on that. That Exodus 19 is what Yahuwah wanted. He wanted a nation of priests, a nation of officials, a nation of leaders, of rulers, to lead people to Him. That was our job. Not, you know what, I'm going to share something. Going back to this book of Aki. Again, this is something I want to share. Again, I know your thoughts, your opinions on Aki. They're yours, whether you believe it or not. That's, you take as you want. But I am going to, where was it at? Alright, here we are. I want to read something real here. A little bit. And in those years it came to pass, when I'm in 1 Aki chapter 6, and in the years it came to pass that one rose, named Solomon, who changed all the affairs of the kingdom, for he established a love for the nation of Yasharal. And he begat a feeling that their nation could excel above the nations who were their neighbors. But he was a sorcerer. And he added sorcery unto their idol worship. In many ways replaced the idols with divination, sorcery, and witchcraft. He got high-minded. I just want to point out that he started building up a love for the nation. A love for the nation, that they could excel above all other nations, be better, be greater, be stronger, be wiser. But he was developing that love of the nation, practicing sorcery. But all he had to do was build his love for Yahuwah. Build his love for Yahuwah. Teach, as a king, teach the people to love Yahuwah, to walk in Yahuwah's ways. Because if he would have built that, Yahuwah already said, and now if you do Israel, obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then thou shalt be my treasured possession above all the peoples. For all the earth is mine. Yasharal, I'm going to say this, and whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, what needs to be said is this. We need to realize there is no Yasharal without Yahuwah. There is no nation without Yahuwah. Without being priests. Our whole nation existence is on the fact that we were to be set apart priests for Yahuwah. A set apart nation. A kingdom of priests. A nation of priests. A nation of officials. A nation of mediators. A nation of people who already had a way in a relationship to Yahuwah. That's why he said in Deuteronomy, what other nation has their Elohim so near? Other nations were supposed to see and be in shock and awe of the greatness, but not for us to gloat around our greatness, but to esteem the one who made us great. And when they saw that our greatness came from the one we always esteemed, they too, they would esteem Matthew. I'm going to end right here. Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Where are we at? Okay. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men. He's in Yahudah telling him to shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. So they are to praise. They are supposed to see the light of the Most High. They're supposed to see their light. The light is supposed to shine before men. They are supposed to love Yahuwah with all their heart, mind, and being, and love their neighbor as they love themselves, because those are the two commands that the whole Torah hangs on. And they are supposed to walk in that light so that when men see it, they praise Yahuwah. All in all, everything was supposed to be to give Yahuwah praise, give Yahuwah worship. Yasharal was that nation, that light to the rest of the world. Yasharal, we're not being a light to the world when we are constantly looking at the flesh and constantly banging on Esau, banging on the other nations, talking down on them, saying they don't serve us, saying our time is coming, all the stuff that they've done. We already know that. Vengeance is mine, thus says Yahuwah, I shall repay. Yasharal already should know that. We shouldn't be pressing that. We shouldn't be banging about that. What should we should be doing is saying repent, for the kingdom of Elohim is near. What we should be doing is healing, mending the brokenhearted, leading them to life, being a light so that they can esteem Yahuwah and come to Yahuwah. That's the job of Yasharal, being a priest. And I'm just going to say it. If we ain't being Yasharal, if we worrying about banging on Esau more so than getting Esau to repent and turn to Yahuwah, or even our own brothers and sisters that are lost, if we are more so making it, like I said, a black power movement than a Ruaku movement of Yahuwah, we aren't being Yasharal. If we are not being priests, we're just being niggas and fringes. And that's it. That's just point blank period. If we're not being priests and leading people to Yahuwah, being a light, if we're banging and all this, spewing all this nonsense, we're not being Yasharal. We're not being Yasharal. So I pray that this message will help, heal, edify, make us think about our role as Yasharal, or what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to maneuver. We see this world, I know I've said it before, we see this world as in a horrible state because Yasharal did not keep the covenant. We failed our job. We bowed to other mighty ones. We got wrapped up in greedy gain and pleasures and everything else. And we see what the result of that was. So let us really examine Exodus 19, especially in this new year around the Pesach season. You know, the establishment of the nation. But let us, as Exodus 19, let us strive to being a kingdom of priests, a kingdom of officials, a kingdom of mediators, a kingdom of strong rulers, so that Yahuwah can be esteemed. With that being said, Shabbat Shalom. May Yahuwah barak you all, shine his face upon you, and give you peace, and be with you in Yahushua's name.